This is a really great machine. It has a lot of great high-end features that you're going to love. They're kind of the must-haves, at least they're what I consider the must-haves. So on the machine, it does have a screen that is easy to navigate. It's just a touch screen, and it's so easy to change your stitches. Just you can make them wider or make them longer just by turning the knob right there. And then some of my favorite things are the fact that it has a tie-off. It has a button that will make it stop with the needle in the down position. And you know how fabulous it is to have that feature with the needle that can stop in the down position. You do have a variable speed here, so you can adjust the rate of speed at which that you're sewing. So if you're doing something that needs a little bit more attention, you can slow the machine down. Then you also can sew with or without a foot control, because you can just push the go button if you like to. It has the presser foot lifter right here with a touch of a button, and which means there's nothing to get hung up on with a left lifter in the back. It has a thread cutter, and then of course your reverse. Now, my favorite feature on this machine is in the very back, hiding behind the foot, and it is actually a feed dog for the top layers of your fabric. And you can see you can disengage it so you don't use it, or you can engage it. Now this actually has teeth right on the mechanism, so it's a feed teeth for the top layers of fabric, while the regular feed dogs are working on the bottom layers of fabric. So it brings them through evenly as you sew, even if you're working with stripes or slippery fabrics, or if you've ever been quilting and you know you cut all your pieces exactly the same length, but you get to the end and one's a little bit longer than the other one. Well, it's probably because you don't have dual feed. So this will take care of that issue. Now I'm going to show you a really cool thing about the feeding on this machine, and I have already made a little seam here, and I just sewed the seam. There's overcasting stitches on this machine, and if you want to go to your different stitches, you can simply just arrow through the different stitches. You can even go to decorative stitches just with a touch of a button. There's lots of different categories of those, but I'm just going to go back to my regular straight stitch, and like I said, you can change the length or the width of your stitch just by turning the little knob. So I've stitched this together, and then I made a beautiful top stitch using the triple straight stitch that gives you the nice bold look, just like your ready to wear jeans have. But we're going to hem this little guy. So if this was a pair of pants, you're going to need to hem it. You're going to want to stitch it. Now, as I start to stitch this, notice the machine puts the foot down for me, which is fabulous. And then we're going to go. Now, when you get to the bulky part of the seam, that's when the machine stops sewing well, or normally it does, and that's because when you get to a seam and your foot tips up, it's no longer in constant contact with the feed dogs. So that's where you get those skip stitches and the broken needles and things like that. So now with the dual feed, it's like four-wheel drive. You're just up and over all those layers of fabric. Now, you don't have to do anything different when you go on to sheer fabric, because all you're going to do is keep sewing. So it will go from thick to thin with no problem at all. And let me just go ahead and raise that foot up, and I'm going to bring this out and show you what that looks like. So you can see how it did a beautiful job sewing all that bulky fabric, but look at that sheer fabric and how nice and flat it is. Now let's take another look real quick. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to sew another seam, but I want to disengage that dual feed, because now it's like any sewing machine that we've ever sewn on. And I just want to show you the difference. So when I go from the denim onto the sheer fabrics, we're going to have a little bit of a different situation there. And just so you know, if you push your thread cutter, it does automatically knot and tie off, and it will cut the thread and then raise that presser foot for us. So take a look at the difference here. It was nice and flat of a seam when we use the dual feed, but look at how puckered that is when we don't use the dual feed. So this machine is going to make a huge difference in your sewing. Now, another thing to know about it is that it does have the ability for you to use a knee lift, which will let you raise and lower the presser foot without touching the machine. It also has an accessory tray that will come off. And in here you have all your feet and everything that come with the machine. It comes with lots of different accessories, and they're just held so nicely right here in that tray. But another thing that's pretty cool is it does come with an extension table. So all we have to do is open up these little feet that are on the table. They collapse down, so they're easy to store. And we're just going to pop them up. And then all we do is slide this right onto the machine And then you have a nice extension table ready for anything that you might want to work with. So I know you're going to love the B77 from Bernette.